rocket. Well, it's a beautiful day in mid-February, one of the first really good days we've had weather-wise here in Middle Tennessee. And today is the day that we begin our first step in building our goat pen. So as you can see, that's our home in the background right there, and I'm going to kind of give you a little panoramic of where the driveway goes, and back up in this area right here is our farm fence. Now this farm fence is going to eventually have goat wire all the way around it. As you can see, we have quite a bit of pasture land out here. We have about, I don't know, maybe 8 acres worth of fenced property. This kind of gives you an advantage when you're starting in the goat world. As you can see, that fence way back over here is quite a lot of space for goats to feed and for a donkey and that sort of thing. So we're really excited to get started. I'm going to walk you on over here so you can see the shed. We're just using a common garden variety garden shed that we happen to have a whole bunch of junk stored in. And well, it happens to be perfect for goats. Who'd have thought, you know? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to convert this goat shed into a home for our goats for the next foreseeable few months while we work on getting the rest of the yard ready for them to graze. So stick around and here we go. These are galvanized gate panels. Now this might be a little bit more expensive than some people think. You should probably invest in building a goat pen, but this stuff is really great because it's portable, it's movable. We can build birthing or baby rearing individual 10 by 10 pins later. But what we're gonna do with this stuff is we're gonna create 4 walls that are 40 feet of length each, because each one of these guys is 10 by 6, I believe. And we're gonna build a goat pen out of this stuff. Pretty cool. This is your common, everyday, garden variety yard shed. Now, of course, we're gonna have to get used to this. Yeah, she's a little worse for wear, but the interior is really nice, and it's gonna be perfect for goats. But as you can see on the floor inside of this thing, well, it's made of plywood. Well, and even if it's treated plywood, there is a slight problem with it. Goat urine has a tendency to completely melt wood. So, that being our first challenge to tackle, how do we keep this from turning into that? Now, in choosing a place to house your goats, other than this mean guy back here, which is one of our problems we're going to deal with later, have ventilation is a good thing. The nice thing about these old garden sheds is that, number one, they provide great shelter. They're plenty big enough, lots of room for the goats to get in and out. We're going to do something about this tread too. And what I like about them is they're secure, they're safe, there's good ventilation, you know, and they should be fairly easy to maintain and keep clean. So, now let's get to this floor. Here's your solution. These rubber panels are called stall mats. Yeah, you can get these at farm supply stores. They generally run somewhere in the $20 to $22 range. They're literally really super heavy. How about, I don't know, that's about a quarter, half inch thick. That's a half inch thick right there. Solid rubber mats. You see how the water beads on top of those? Well, here's the good news. So does pee-pee. So that's not a problem. The goats pee on this stuff. Well, it doesn't go anywhere. It simply absorbs into the hay that's going to be on top of this as bedding in the shed. All right, here we go. 50 pounds per rubber stall mat, 16 by 10 shed, 12 4 by 3s. Let's do this. So continue doing that by 4 rows. Then I'll need to rest for a bit, and then we'll get started on the next phase. We'll show you the results when we're done. The important thing to remember is it just needs to cover the areas where the goats are actually going to the bathroom. In fact, it doesn't go all the way to the edges. It doesn't really matter. They tend to congregate in one area, and if we can keep them away from the walls. For the most part, this floor is pretty stinking solid. I haven't shot it down with screws yet. I'm gonna shoot it down with screws. I think it's important to screw it to the floor. There are tiny little gaps between, but I mean, they're so insignificant enough that I don't think enough damage is gonna get done that way, and if it does, hey, we'll handle it, right? That's what we do. The gap around the edges, like I said, not a big deal. steel. I mean, you can't expect to completely cover the thing. I think it would be too much work to do that. From what I gather, we're gonna be just fine. So there it is, and that is our rubber floor. Okay, now the next thing that we're worried about, as you can see down here behind me, this wooden stuff down here has a very important purpose. This is the base for our gates. This base here is gonna help us to establish not only where the gates are gonna go, it's gonna give them a slight foundation to sit on, and it's also gonna help deter predators from digging under the fence, because it's no problem for them to dig under something that's, you know, only about this wide. When they see that, they might be a little bit more deterred. Now, we're not too worried about predators. The main predator we worry about in our area is just feral dogs. Basically just took OSB, you know, I mean, it's even 1/4 inch. I don't even think it's 1/2 inch thickness. It doesn't have to be super thick, and it doesn't have to survive for the rest of eternity. It just has to be a good base. We just need to lay these guys out in a 40 by 40 pattern. Now, what we did was we just bought 5 sheets and we ripped them down into, you know, 1 foot wide sections by 8, and well, there you go. You do the math and you got 160 linear feet of board that we're gonna lay out in a big square pattern, and we're gonna set our gate up on it. Well, for the better parts of the last hour, I have been humbly dragging 40-pound pieces of fence section, 16 of them to be exact, all the way from our garage, which is way over there, to here. And I have laid them out in a pattern around our footers. Now all we gotta do is stand these bad boys up and clamp them together, and we'll have a fence post. Well, fence, anyway. Post. My brain's losing it. See, the fence post is super easy, awesomely sturdy. Once you stand it up, you got a clamp on the top and a clamp on the bottom, and those provide the, well, they provide the vertical and the horizontal support at the same time. I mean, it's a simple solution.
Like, we'll need 8 so we can do it on that corner, that corner.
Yeah, buddy, I think each one of these has got a couple of these attached to it that we just take off and end up bolting side to side. So, we're good to go. If we need a few more, we'll get more at the store. They're not very hard to get. Sell these at any place that sells hardware, so just put 2 per panel and, well, go all the way around. Well, 2.5 hours of hard work and the pen's up. Tons of space, you know, there's lots of room for the animals to run. It's amazing when you define a space how big it seems. I mean, it doesn't seem maybe that big to you in the video, but here's a little corner to corner. It's fairly substantial in size. So 40 by 40 pens, way big enough since we're only gonna have 5 goats and 1 baby donkey at first. So other than that, hey, we're good to go. Pen set up, the hard work's done. We gotta get some water to this corner, a little bit of electricity in there, just with an extension cord and a little cord over the top, and hey, we're good to go. Little hay, little food, and I'll be ready to bring on our girls. That took all of about 4.5 hours to get the pen set up, and I'm pretty excited. I think we did a good job, and I'm ready to bring home our girls. So join us next time on the Goatslickers.